Welcome back. We're talking about financial innovation here at the Business Tech FinTech Conference for 2022. I'm your host, Michael Avery. And when we talk of innovation, I think sometimes it's just about stumbling on something while looking for something else. And there's a great story about the inventor of the commercially released Prestick product. And they don't actually know who the actual first inventor was, but a precursor product to blue tack, as it was known in the UK, was created by a sealant developer around 1970. And it was an accidental byproduct of an attempt to develop a new sealant using chalk powder, rubber, and oil. And they discovered Prestick. It's one of the most widely used multi-use adhesives on the planet. And we've all got Prestick in our homes, and we use it to stick up the kids' things on the fridge, but they were experimenting. And I think innovation is largely about having the courage to experiment and to try new things. And something our next speaker, Rebatho Madiba, Executive Business Development, ITS at Digital Edge at BCX, knows all too well. Rebatho, welcome. And I promise we won't talk about the MTN deal. We're talking about FinTech. Great to have you as a speaker.
Thank you very much, Michael. And I'm very excited to be just sharing my thoughts, as you say, of innovation within the financial services businesses.
Now, BCX has extensive experience helping financial services business embrace the latest digital technologies. Why is it important for financial services businesses to use these technologies now in this conversation that we're having after COVID and while everything is being disrupted?
So Michael, I think partners such as BCX play a critical role as the disruption of 4IR has forced, and I'll say forced because of the fact that with COVID, it was more of a force than a reactive approach in terms of adopting emerging technologies and embracing digital. I think for me, one of a few cost driver or business drivers for the financial services would be, for example, how do they become a lean organization so that they reduce the cost of doing business? How do they create a resilient and efficient business? And I think some of the incidents that have been happening within the South African commercial banking industry will actually speak to that. But more importantly, how do these businesses sustain and improve the market in terms of keeping their customers? How do they improve their customer engagement and experience? So with digital, everything being mobile, everything being accessible, I think it has accelerated the need to be able to differentiate yourself from a customer experience management. And that's one of the challenges that the financial service business faces continuously. How do you provide that access? I think there's an interesting concept around financial inclusion. How to make sure that within the financial services sector, your services are available across most of your customer categories and segments, but more importantly, geographically as well. And I think for me, and we've touched on it, security, trusted business, and then more importantly, I think the end goal of digital is basically how do you then disrupt your business model? Some of the businesses within financial services have actually allowed themselves to get disrupted in terms of also looking at strategic ways of being a platform business, integrating APIs, etc. So I think for me, it's quite an interesting area we're in, where technology is now driving the business models. And I think for financial services, given that it's a critical business within the economy, it's actually one of the areas that the adoption of emerging technologies becomes quite critical.
And you're talking here about that sustained process of disruption, but also a step change in the way companies are thinking about this. And I think many financial services businesses might be worried about disruptions to the existing operations, because you talk about legacy infrastructure, spaghetti systems, and it's all stacked on this old infrastructure and processes and systems. So you don't want to interfere with that, because you get worried that if you pull one thing out, the whole stack collapses. So how do partners like BCX put their minds at ease here to approach some of these legacy issues?
So within BCX, that's basically what we're here for. How do we continuously mature our relationship. I think we want to then play at a strategic partnership with the customers within the financial services industry. How do we become the trusted partner to take you through, as you said, legacy? When you go from legacy to digital, there's a lot of disruption. There's a lot of unknown. We're trying to bring in the experts to be able to assist you from a strategic thinking. But I think more importantly, as much as you create that North Star, what is also important is that roadmap that is understandable. So we have refined our value proposition to lead in innovative solutions. More importantly, how do we help your customers as our clients to learn, live, and work? And I think we bring in then innovative solutions to basically define the strategic roadmap from a legacy disruption. And I like the fact that you also focused on legacy infrastructure, the legacy processes, the legacy systems and applications. So it's just not necessarily about your applications, but how do you then bring the three into play, take cognizance of the fact that you're also dealing with people, and then create that strategic roadmap. So for example, when you're looking at infrastructure, is the connectivity, your network layer. People are now working from home. How do you make sure that you bring in the security, the accessibility, adoption of SD-WAN, and the newer technologies within our network environment, edge technologies. Cloud becomes a key player. And I think most of the financial services business are operating in a digital environment. So how do you make sure that at the same time they manage the risk in terms of going to cloud, but also be able to operate in a hybrid environment. Cybersecurity becomes very important in this area. I think with cybersecurity or a trusted organization, the disruption of a digital identity, there are a lot of conversations we've been having with businesses around what's when digital comes into play. How do we modernize your legacy application? Because these are core, running on platforms like mainframe. These are core to businesses within the financial sector. And how do we make sure that, the business continuity is top of mind, but also assisting you to then navigate and transverse on this unknown journey in terms of adopting technologies and emerging technology, which are new. But you also want to be able to keep yourself and differentiate yourself within the market.
Yeah, I think you have to. Any business is now held to the standard of the fastest innovator in the market because it's accessible to consumers at the moment, and that becomes the new benchmark. Equally, if you get things wrong, I think of a big bank here that had a severe tech outage not too long ago, and it becomes a serious issue of damage control and damage to the brand. So you've got to be doing it in the right way with the right partners. In terms of technology trends that you're seeing at the moment, and I introed the conference talking about what McKinsey was looking at as 6 or 7 of the big trends impacting fintech, and AI was in there, blockchain was in there. What are some of the big technologies that you see innovative financial services businesses embracing in 2022?
Yeah, I think for me, the interesting one that keeps resonating, I guess, is Web 3.0, where now you are basically decentralizing, the operating model of a financial services sector. As you said, how do you take advantage of blockchain to drive, the trail in terms of the security, in terms of the transaction within a financial services sector? How do you bring in the intelligent solutions? If you're looking at the automation now, it's hyper intelligent automation solutions. How do you bring in a voice and speech driven capabilities now instead of basically text? And how do you elevate that? So how do you start connecting the Internet of Things, wearables now, and how do you integrate those and connect those into payment solutions? Point of sales solutions, how do you integrate that? So I think for me, what is interesting is 2 things, is the opening of this environment in terms of the open protocols that are being used to create that open API and platforms. But I think more importantly is then the regulation side of things, which is also a new thing that McKinsey touches on around regulatory technology. How do you then create that compliance across your landscape to make sure that you are actually then compliant to within such a regulated business, such as a financial services sector?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the big challenge. And when we talk about DeFi, open banking, all of that then raises these new questions and new challenges. So can you just give me a practical example of how BCX actually helps financial services businesses get the full benefits of these technologies? Because for many, you start talking about these and they're like, no, wait a minute, we don't quite understand. We'll wait for someone else to move first. How do you actually help transition a business?
So I think as BCX, we are positioned, if you look at the end-to-end capabilities we have within our products and services, we've got the Concom business, converged communications business, which is basically the networking in a nutshell. How do you connect you? And obviously, and there's various technologies within that to connect you. I think on top of that, then the two then key areas is then how do you make sure that your infrastructure in terms of the storage of your data is also secure, which is our cloud platform solutions. So that basically takes you through a journey from your on-premise to your cloud and what's that roadmap looking like. And then the value add from an analytics, insights, from an end user perspective, the experience, customer experience is basically our digital platform solution. So we've got a packaged end-to-end digital solutions for the financial services business. And I think to tease and just to kind of create a use case is, as you said, some of the incidents and outages in one of the commercial banks. I think we want to imagine BCX coming in and offering a end-to-end visibility where you integrate your service management environment and when you integrate that with your customer experience platforms and get that visibility. So I think an outage as an IT service manager, wearing the hat of an IT service manager, for me is basically denial of service. And we're denial of service of a critical banking service, which is basically the banking app, right? So that creates from a business continuity. If you're wearing the hat of a chief risk officer, that's an issue. If you're wearing a hat of a chairperson of board risk, that's an issue. So now, how do we as BCX and make sure that you've got visibility against across your business, resulting in a huge impact of your omni-channel strategy? How do you make sure that that's protected? But most importantly is then how do we then give you that visibility through one of our capabilities? So we've got a future fit contact center for our latest service offering from the Unified Comms and Collaboration team. So that's the one area. How do you make sure that you increase the omni-channel access? How do you make sure that your customers are able to engage with you so that you're also not reactive in finding that the challenges? But more importantly is the stability of your environment. So we've got an offering called our AI Ops, Artificial Intelligence Operations or IT Operations Solutions. How do you make sure that we integrate the financial businesses applications with the financial services business networks and the infrastructure and provide visibility across? How do you make sure that you have that predictive and intelligent alert monitoring, event monitoring through our capabilities? So I think from our side, just to mitigate that risk in terms of that use case, basically we've got the capabilities to be able to assist you and explore. Like I said, for me, it's a use case where I started just thinking, how could we have helped? And these are just two of the offerings that we have in play. And do bear in mind that I've obviously made a few assumptions here in this use case, but I think it would be interesting to innovate and actually show the art of the possibility that we can do as BCX in terms of assisting the financial services business.
Would you say that, I mean, that's a full suite, end-to-end kind of gamut of services. Would you say that's a key thing that really differentiates you from your competitors in the local market?
Yes, I would say that actually what differentiates us. I think we're South African. I think for me that's key. I think we're the largest, if I'm not mistaken, the largest system integrator within South Africa. We're very aggressive within our African market. That offering, that end-to-end, yes, obviously some people want to de-risk, but I think also you want to risk your environment in terms of how do you engage and create that service engagement with one partner. And I think think BCX is actually positioned, if your strategy is not a multi-vendor strategy, BCX is very positioned to be able to assist you. But obviously, you also then, as a customer, can be able to choose in terms of our three product portfolios and choose the specific one that you actually need. But I think we're positioned. I think over and above our technical capabilities, we've got a strong acumen in understanding our customers, and we've actually invested a lot in trying to elevate that, understand our customers' challenges, more importantly, so that we're able to provide fit for purpose solutions. And I think from my experience, having been in the shoes of our customers as a past CIO, I bring in that knowledge to be able to understand and relate, so that when we then talk solutions to our customers, we're able to then, as I said, create that future fit value proposition to be able to make our customers, one, understand the value of our products, but more importantly, the technical capabilities of our products.
Oh, you mentioned you're the largest system integrator in South Africa, so you've got a good vantage point to speak here with some authority. From that vantage point, what is the most common mistake or mistakes that financial service businesses make when it comes to incorporating these modern technologies into their operations?
Yeah. So I think for me, it's the readiness. Financial services businesses have been quite advanced in terms of understanding the technologies, especially because I knew they've invested in understanding what, blockchain, how does it work? Robotic process automation is quite mature, right? But I think it's the sustainability. So when you then put in that plan in place in terms of how ready is your business, and then how ready is the technology environment to be able to embrace and fit these new technologies. So, it just started from strategy. How ready is that strategy to be able to allow disruption and allow digital business transformation? It's one thing to create a vision, but the other thing is then how do you plan and execute? The business model readiness, digital literacy within the banking or financial services industry. It's all about people. How ready are those people? The literacy, the skills. I think we've got the great resignation going on now. And, where do we get those people to support the business? That's the one. And I think I've spoken about the readiness of technology. We touched on legacy versus digital. How ready are applications to go digital based on the fact that, how ready are we there? And I think for me, we touched on it when we were joking around the impact of load shedding and the impact of these macroeconomic challenges that we also face within South Africa and the bigger, in the bigger global world. So for me, it's all about the readiness. Thinking about it, dreaming about it is easy. I think for me, it's the execution and then sustaining that and minimizing the business disruption.
Yeah, and go in there, do the audit, find out how ready you are by actually going through the business of the fine-tooth comb. What are the digital literacy gaps in the organization, and start building from there. How can viewers get in touch with you?
Please visit our website, follow us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, Twitter, but I think if you want to personally contact me, please email address rebatho@bcx.co.za. We also have info@bcx.co.za. And then to engage with you, to support you, and we're looking forward to basically our viewers learning and becoming part of BCX customers.
Thank you very much. Rebatho Madiba, Executive Business Development, ITS Digital Edge at BCX, giving us the rundown on how you approach integrating these new technologies as a financial services firm here at the Business Tech FinTech Conference for 2022. Stay right there. I'm your host, Michael Avery. We've got more great speakers right after this.